Let's talk about Surface Duo 2 after the June update. I'm going to have some videos coming where I really do a full overview of kind of how I'm feeling about the device after this pretty substantial update, as well as the original Surface Duo, because they both have gotten a lot of big updates, and they've come a really long way. But I wanted to make a dedicated video about the camera on Duo 2 itself at this particular time, because I think enough has changed significantly to warrant having do so. When Duo 2 first came out, I mean, the first thing everybody talked about when they first saw the thing was, my God, look at that big old camera bump. It's enormous. And then the thing came out, and the camera was okay. You know, it was fine. But when you opened it, it was a little laggy. When you took a picture, it was a little laggy. When you were in low light, it was really laggy. Sometimes you get good shots. Sometimes you take a picture and it would lag, and then the thing would run off that you were trying to take a picture of, and it would be just a freaking disaster. So there was some good, you know, look, it was better than Duo 1's camera. It was a lot better than Duo 1's camera. But it wasn't, you know, people would say, well, did it justify the existence of this camera bump? And you could have an argument about that potentially. But I think now, after some of these updates earlier in the month that really made the camera much better, as well as this June update, which I think has done a world of good, at least for my camera experience, I think that we're at a point now where I'm really happy that that camera is there now. And I want to very quickly take a look at a poll that I put on my community page, because the thing I noticed from this June update, first off, was that the shutter lag that I just talked about a little bit is effectively gone on my Duo 2. So let's look at this poll here. Did the June update improve the shutter lag on your Duo 2? 41% of voters, it's only 103 people, right? So this is, you know, it's not a massive poll of people, okay? But let's just take it for what it says, and then I'll demonstrate to you what I'm experiencing, and you can judge it from there for yourself. But yes, it's effectively gone, said almost half of people. Yes, but it is still there occasionally, said 17% of people. I think if you're in that group, right? So would that be 58% of people? I would say that the shutter lag is either not there at all or only there a little bit. I think that's a pretty good place to be. No, it's the same. I never noticed to begin with. Also, at 31% is pretty good too as well. So we're really talking about the vast majority of people on Duo 2 saying something along the lines of shutter lag is somewhere between good and probably passable. I think it's actually really, really good right now, and I'm going to try to demonstrate this to you now. So when we talked about the general camera performance on Duo 2, one of the first things that, you know, was a bit of a problem was just the actual act of opening up the camera itself. Well, here I'm going to demonstrate this here. So no apps are open, so the camera is not already in RAM. We're going to open it fresh and anew, and you're going to see it's pretty doggone quick. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but I think it's pretty serviceably quick. So another thing that we had issues with, and this is still a bit of a problem, is that the actual viewfinder would lag a ton when you're in low light. And if I turn off the lights in here, turn off the studio lights, and let's shut off this one too, make it really nice and dark, you're gonna see that it's really not bad anymore. That lag in the shutter when you'll be looking around is pretty good now. If you're looking at something really dark, you can start to get a little bit of lag, but in general, it's pretty much fixed. And then the other big issue that we had was just shutter lag. So sometimes you would take a picture and it would be super, super quick. Other times you take a picture and it would sit and think about it, and then it would snap the picture and you would have missed the shot. Now I'm here to tell you, I'm having a hard time making it lag at all, taking pictures rapidly. Let's just see if this will lag at all. Let's just take some pictures here facing down, okay? I mean, it is lightning fast. Now, I've had some people say, well, yeah, but the picture popping up on the other screen is still slow. Well, that is not shutter lag. Shutter lag is touch the shutter, picture taken. That's almost instantaneous. The photo appearing over here is talking about the actual processing of the image. The picture's taken, then the phone actually runs it through the ISP, processes the image, makes it look good, and then it shows it to you on this other screen. That is an entirely different process, nothing to do with shutter lag at all. But when I compare this to something like a Z Fold, something like this, let's compare the shutter lag here. Look, I'm not lying to you here. It's faster than the Z Fold. It is significantly faster. The Z Fold, can you see this? When I click it, there is a delay, is there not? There is not a delay there. It is faster on the shutter than the Z Fold. So what you're gonna see here is a video, a screen recording of me just sort of taking pictures in the backyard with my Duo 2. And you'll see, as I aim up at the tree, I take a shot, I zoom in 2x, I take another shot. You can see a little bit of lag as I move between lenses, a little bit of stutter, but nothing super significant there. I touch to focus on that rose. Move over to the next one. I'm taking pictures. I'm getting pictures shown up to me. I telephoto in for a picture of these flowers here. I zoom back out to the wide angle and look up at the big tree. Take a picture there. Everything's fine. Go back to the 1x. Take a picture of these flowers here. Turn and look at my my elephant ears here, standard, take a picture there, and it just rolls through this. It just does it with no problem at all. I can't personally imagine ever taking photos more rapidly than that. Like, where else are you gonna be walking around switching lenses, looking around and taking pictures like that? And it handled it fine. Like, it took pictures every time I clicked on the shutter. It was essentially instantaneous, okay? Every now and again, when you were switching lens and then immediately taking a picture, there would be about as much lag as I get on, my Z Fold, just as normal use is. I think what I've just shown you there is also fairly impressive, but now we're going to look at some photo samples themselves directly. So here's a picture of a rose in my backyard, and it's an image that I like to try and replicate for testing because these roses, the colors on them are so intense that most of these cameras, most smartphone cameras, just do not know what to do with them. And I think the Duo 2 did okay. It looks a little bit fluorescent, you know what I'm saying? Just because the colors are so intense on this thing, but I think that the detail is quite good. There's a little bit of grain here in the background, the darkness, but nothing significant at all. I think this is a perfectly passable photo. Here it is again in portrait mode, which you don't probably see a massive difference here other than the color profile. It lightens it up a bit. I think I actually like the non-portrait mode better because you already get some natural bokeh down there below. But again, the details look good. The colors are really difficult to get right, but I think Duo does okay here. Here is another somewhat close-up of one of the flowers you might have seen in that video, and detail is good. Color reproduction is pretty solid. Hard to get the focus right on the interior bit of that flower, but I got relatively close. I think it's a passable picture. Here is the wide angle lens. This is in the alley somewhat near my house, and the wide angle with any 12 megapixel wide angle lens, you're gonna get a little bit of fringing, right? You're gonna get a little bit of loss of detail on the edges. This is par for the course on a wide angle lens, but I think overall it's a little blown out here at the end, right? But again, this is a wide angle lens. These are things that find a wide angle lens that doesn't suffer from some of these problems, and I'll be fairly impressed. I think this is a fun looking picture, definitely good enough to post on social media. This is the 2x, the telephoto, and I'm looking, this is quite a good distance away from me that I'm looking at here, even though this is only in 2x. If you zoom in, I think that the detail, let's let it clear up here, the detail's pretty good, right? Like you can almost read that road sign here all the way from that far away on this 2x lens. I think that it looks really good. Couple of mushrooms on a tree by the house. The colors look good, nice and warm, nice and detailed. You got some light color here on this mushroom, some dark here, but yet the I would say that the exposure is pretty good. Look at the detail on this bark here. Here are a bunch of rocks down the road for me as well. I like this because it shows off many different colors, and also you can really zoom in and try and look at the details on these rocks, and I think it preserved them pretty well. I had a helicopter flying overhead, so I zoomed in 10 times and took a picture of it, and if the shutter lag needed more demonstration to you, the fact that the actual rudders of the helicopter were in focus, I think would demonstrate that pretty well. So back inside the house, this time with the wide angle, and this was kind of towards the evening, so it was beginning to get a little bit dark in the house, and you can see that, right? With the wide angle in particular, you do get some noise over here on the edges, which you can definitely see as you sort of look around. But I think overall, it's kind of low light, and it's a wide angle. It's not the greatest photo in the world, but it's okay. What about portrait mode in this sort of setup where it's kind of dark? Well, it does a pretty good job. It cuts out my boy Rutherford here pretty darn well. Nice looking details. Copper got a little bit out of focus here, and I think that what happened here, you see how bright she is there. There's a lamp off to this side, and it kind of overexposed there a little bit. So this would probably be the weakest photo out of the bunch in terms of the portrait mode anyways for me. It kind of lost the focus here a little bit, so not great there. What about in low light? So this is with lights off in this room. You can usually see this area directly behind me. Lights are turned off. This is with night mode turned off, and you can see what it looks like there. It looks pretty bad. However, this is with night mode turned on. This is night mode on the stock camera app, and if we zoom in here, you can actually now make out TicWatch E3. This is a pretty big improvement. I mean, look, from that to that is a world of difference. Now, then I switched over to a Gcam ports night mode, and it actually didn't focus all that well. In this instance, the stock app actually has some advantages. Now, I would say that the color reproduction is better on Gcam, but I think that the night mode, maybe, just maybe, has improved a little bit. What about in terms of the selfie camera? So I think the selfie camera is looking pretty good. I'm not sure what the space is I'm making. It was a bright day outside whenever I took this particular photo, but zoom into the beard hair test a la Unbox Therapy, and I think it passes that just fine. In portrait mode, we get a pretty decent cutout. My hair always makes things a bit difficult, but I think it did an okay job. What about taking a selfie with the primary camera? Well, it looks pretty good. The colors look a bit different, right? Not quite as warm as they did before, so keep in mind the color profile shifting, but the details look good as well. Obviously, the beard hair test is going to be quite easily passed on this one. And then portrait mode with the primary sensor looks really good. Portrait mode on Duo is pretty good. And then back inside with some better lighting this time, here's a picture of Copper again. And boy, look at the details on her fur as this does load in. Really, really detailed shot. And then switching over to portrait mode, and it absolutely crushes this. I think this is a great portrait. Look at how the blurredness, is that a word? Look how the blur sort of gets more intense as it goes down her foot, as it goes down her back. I just think that's a really good job. Alright, this is 1080p, 60 frames a second. Have they done anything to address the terrible stabilization on Surface Duo 2? Let's find out. So obviously Duo 2 is still not the greatest camera on the market. The stabilization in the video mode is still absolutely terrible. But in terms of just using the thing, not missing a shot because of the shutter lag, not taking a picture and it's way out of focus, it's blurry, it looks just terrible, it's whatever. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. The camera on Duo 2 is in a place where I think you can pretty well rely on it. You can actually trust it now. And honestly, I've taken some really good photos with my Duo 2 camera already, and I think that's going to only be easier now going forward. I'm happy with it. I don't really need them to do much more with it at all at this point. It's a solid camera now. Talk amongst yourselves in the comments down below about how you feel about the whole camera thing. I know a lot of you guys and gals would still rather them remove the camera and go back to the old design, which does allow the full flip around type thing. And I get that. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't like carrying two devices, and I like being able to take good photos on my phone. So to each their own. Luckily, Duo 1 still exists. So if that's what you're into, buy Duo 1, and at the price it's at, $400 or so. Hard to beat that right now. So guys, like I said, talk in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.